Next misconception is that OBE makes things to be complicated. This may be true to some extent, as OBE itself is a sophisticated system. You have so many outcomes at different levels. They are interdependent and related to each other. It has the ability to carry various components as stipulated by the accreditation bodies. Taking this as an example, you have outcomes at various levels, and you have CQI cycle for the OBE. This will be the simplest models of OBE. However, due to the requirements by the accreditation bodies, as well as IEA, various components has been integrated inside the OBE. The purpose is to prepare graduates to have the ability to compete in the global market. Because of various components, as well as interdependency of the outcomes at various levels, it seems to be very complicated. This we cannot deny that. Nevertheless, due to the systematic characteristic of OBE, the things become very clear and explicit. You will know specifically when the relevant elements are to be incorporated. This cannot be achieved by using the typical or traditional teaching methods. It is not clear and systematic enough. Another reason OBE is being complained to be very complicated is that learning the OBE takes time. Digesting and understanding to the bottom of it require great efforts. For those who are not willing to invest time on this, of course it is complicated. And normally during the establishments of the OBE and the learning process of OBE, it is really complicated. However, you need to know that a true master makes complicated things simple. OBE is a tool. It is a system assisting the implementations and operations of a program. You will have to first adopt the system, operate it in a complicated manner at the early stage. Later, you need to put extra effort simplifying the OBE. You might need to run the OBE in the complicated versions over a period of time. Over the time, you review the system. This is when you start optimizing the OBE. You need to be very clear about what you want the OBE to do, what is the purpose of doing the OBE in the program. As long as the OBE able to produce you the intended results, those extra thing, minor thing, redundant part may be removed. Giving you an example. You can use OBE, especially at the analysis part, do a really thorough and in-depth analysis. You can compute various types of results, not only the mean and standard deviations and other statistical values, but you will need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of those analyses? If you are just looking for the answer in the modes of yes or no, as long as the analysis can yield you yes or no, that is good enough. It is only when you need to quantify it, to which degree positive or to which degree negative, then you do a more refined analysis. Now, if you are talking about to which degree positive and to which degree negative, you may also adjust in terms of the refinedness and sensitivity of the analysis. Now, the purpose of the analysis will always be the emphasis. You don't really need very sophisticated analysis to prove that your OBE model is very good. It is slightly overdone. Another thing, depending on the stages and progressions of the program, the emphasis and the purpose may be varied. Let's say at the initial stage of offering an engineering program, the OBE is not established yet. The objective now is to establish the simplest versions of OBE. You can do one thing at a time. You don't have to straight away go for full and perfect versions of the OBE, as this is the starting of the program. Let's say now your program has a lot of young lecturers that have minimum experience related to OBE, and there are a lot of resistance to the OBE, a lot of misconceptions about OBE. Now your purpose here is to create the culture for them to familiarize with OBE, for them to know how to use the OBE to improve their qualities of delivery. In this case, you also do not need the OBE to the very complicated version. Straight away, you have a full-fledged OBE in a very complicated situation. This discourages the lecturer to adopt OBE. So much to learn, so many to consider, and when they find difficulty to understand, the acceptance level will be very low. Another situation, if you expect your programs there are a lot of mistakes, which is not fully stabilized, you know that normally when we start offering a new program, everything was conducted in a very rushed manner. If you have ever involved with the development of the program, you will know that you cannot make a perfect program. Sometimes, even the developer for the program also realize there could be flaws and problems within the program. However, due to the constraint in terms of the time and resources, they will just need to make sure the big things are there, and those small minor things will have to be improved along the way. So far, I haven't seen any newly developed program to be totally out of mistakes. Everything perfectly done, fully optimized, and etc. It is not that the developer of the program are not competent. Most likely they are also aware of that. But you know, developing a program is really a big deal. First, you will have to get the program running, and then corrections and fine-tuning shall become later as the program operates over times. Now, if you are in such a scenario, it is still in the process of improving, optimizing, correcting flaws within the program. Do you really need very high-ended OBE model to do so? It is as if you are using a highly spec tools just to do some simple thing. Now the main point is the implementations of the OBE. It should be just right and just nice to meet the needs of a program at certain instance. This is why the true master would be valuable. Only true master knows how to use the right level of effort to acquire the outputs of at least equivalent. I hope this can broaden your perspective. Instead of classifying bluntly that OBE makes things complicated, this is only half true. The truth is, the OBE can be as simple as possible. At the same time, it can also be as complicated as possible. It depends on the needs. When your programs are at the mature level, you want to bring more impacts. You want to further checking out the qualities of the program. Probably you are looking into a more complicated OBE, and normally it doesn't achieve in one day. The OBE model will become more and more systematic, more and more well established and organized, together with the growth of the program. I believe that should be the way. Next, there are also comments that OBE is very rigid and restrictive. Thus, it is an old school. It means that the program adopting OBE will still remain traditional. This only happens when we do not know how to use OBE. And normally, when we do not know the true spirit of OBE, then it seems to be very rigid and restrictive. We cannot blame the people having this kind of perceptions simply because we do not know how to use OBE. You need to know that OBE is actually facilitating the continual quality improvements. No matter what stage your program is in, there are always room for improvement. Even at the early stage, when everything is not well in place, you can see significant improvement adopting the OBE. Let's say now the program has been running over a period of time. You have really quality manpowers. They are very well versed with the OBE. The program is mature enough. There will be rooms for improvement as well. In fact, OBE is just a framework or a tool promoting creativity and flexibility. What is actually rigid and restrictive is that we cannot think out of the box. We inherit the understanding and not knowingly we embrace the methods through the traditions and the cultures of the institutions or even the entire academic field. When we see proven track record of the previous traditional methods, unintentionally we only believe in the conventional methods and we do not have the courage to venture into new things. We don't dare to impose too much creativity, worried that this will spoil everything. That is the main reason of the rigid and restrictive. If you see the OBE encourages the participations of the stakeholders. It is a part of the requirement for a program to get closely in line with the development of the industry and the society. Every now and then, OBE encourages the feedbacks from the stakeholders and also check the quality of the output against the needs and the demands of the industry. The industry itself is growing continuously along with the technological growth. There are also continuous knowledge growth within the field and engineering discipline. If we can keep up with the growth, this is not old school. Now, what makes the program to be an old school? It is mainly due to our own resistance to break through from the traditional methods. Taking one example, now education has already changed from teacher-centered learning towards student-centered learning. The main reasons of this changing, first of course, is led by OBE, which is a learner-centric model. Second, if you do the survey among the employer, you will realize that nowadays the employer demand more on the soft skills, communication skills, critical thinking skills, analytical skills, teamwork skill, leadership skill, ICT skills, and etc. Why is it so? In old days, we need people with knowledge. The main emphasis are towards the cognitive. Graduate with good knowledge has the advantage. But during then, the internets are not well in place. There is no strong information supporting system in old days. Now, whoever possesses the knowledge, without the assistance of those strong information's backup system, they can perform the job better. What happened now? We can easily access all kinds of informations at all levels, highly specialized, easily through internet. You have so many software to help you. You have so many references, standards, code of practice to help you. All this has been quite well in place. Now the competitions become higher. And then the industry realized that through proper management of the higher learning institutions within the country, the qualities of the graduates at the cognitive level are more or less the same due to the high levels of regulations by the accreditation bodies. Now, what makes the graduates of certain university and the program to have advantage to compete in the industry? It will be the graduates having the relevant skills, has the ability to perform work independently, has the ability to communicate effectively with people of different levels of education background, has the ability to coordinate words, plan words, and manage words. All this become the advantage among a group of graduates possessing relevant knowledge. Now, if we still stick with teacher-centered learning, it is quite challenging to have the graduate to be well equipped with all these skills. Now let us ask ourselves, have you been doing the student-centered learning? Or most of the time, you still embrace and believe in teacher-centered learning? We have been quite familiar with teacher-centered learning to a comfortable stage, asking the academicians to transform into student-centered learning. There are a lot of arguments. This cannot be done. You cannot guarantee a thorough delivery and full learning process by the students. Assessment cannot be done objectively, and all sort of reasons. At the end of the day, we are still sitting in front of the students, showing slides and presentations. Make sure all the students sit down, listening to your lecture. Now, what is the main reason of the old school here? Is it because of the OBE? No, it is because of the people that we are so comfortable with what we have been familiar with, not having sufficient courage to transform. Theoretically, if you apply the OBE properly, you will see misalignment. What is demanded by the industry and what is produced by the institutions may not actually meeting the demands of the industry. But now when you look back in the analysis of your OBE, you found that your OBE always tell you that your program is good, meeting the requirements and the target. Is it really true? Because we are biased at the first place. You should aware that now soft skill is more important, especially when you have all the information technology well in place. And when you focus most of your efforts in the teacher-centered learning, theoretically you do not really equip the students with necessary soft skill. And then you get the feedbacks from the industry. Graduate cannot perform well in the industry. There are always complaints from the industry. But when you do the analysis internally, you found that you are delivering the program very effectively. Something must be wrong, right? We never look into this. This is my opinion about the old school accusations to the OBE. The point here, it will be the root cause is not the OBE. The root cause is us. It requires longer time for us to have the courage to transform. That's why we are still old schools.